Hello, I'm your host, Jenna Galloway on Glory Beyond the Game, and we're here today with... Any moment?
I made it.
Okay, what's your name?
Oh, my name's Elias Gerald.
Okay, let's get started.
In this never-ending game of life, victories and defeats define our existence in a cycle of ups and of downs. Brace yourself for a journey beyond the ordinary as we dive into the heart of humanity. I am Jenna Galloway, your host and fellow collegiate athlete. Join me on the relentless pursuit of unraveling the untold stories of athletes, exploring the depths of their triumphs, and discovering where they channel the glory that transcends both the game they play and the very essence of life itself. Welcome to the Glory Beyond the Game podcast.
All right, I'm here with Elias, uncoincidentally matching. That's totally not planned, by
She's
the way.
only copied me too.
Right, totally. Yeah, I just want to be Elias. Super stoked to have you today. So Elias, introduce yourself. Where are you coming from? Where are you now? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty, so my story starts Saratoga Springs, Utah. That's where I'm from.
That's where it's from.
I'm 20. I turned 20 3 days ago.
Happy birthday to Elias.
Freshly 20.
Freshly 20.
I don't know what
How
I
do you
would do
feel?
with my 20s. I mean, like, people are like, oh, does it feel any different? And most of the time, I'm like, no. This one, I actually did feel different.
Really?
I can't lie. Like, I
That's
felt,
amazing.
but like the way I would like describe it, it's
Mhm.
like, I feel like I'm almost like a smaller person in a bigger body. I don't know how to explain it. Like, if I showed you an image, a smaller person in a bigger body.
Okay,
Yes.
that-
I feel like
that's
I actually like am in an adult now. I'm like an adult.
Okay.
It's weird. I woke
That
up. I
makes
was like, what the
sense.
heck? Yeah.
Okay, that's something to experience. I'll look forward to that for sure.
So yeah, 20. I'm a sophomore at USC. I go to.
Super high.
There's actually a lot of schools named USC. So
Let's clarify.
I'm this one. University of Southern California.
Southern California.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then your major.
Communications and journalism.
Okay.
People are like, what do you mean you do it? You know, see, everybody is an athlete. I want to be a sports broadcaster.
There is
Yeah.
a path to that.
So-
You want to. Have you always wanted to do that?
I'm trying to remember like the exact moment that I wanted to become one.
Mhm.
Actually, I do remember the exact moment. I wanted to be a dentist for a long time.
Mhm.
Like when I was a kid, probably up until like 7th grade, I wanted to be a dentist. And then I was like reading some like facts about dentists, and I was like, I don't really like these, like what I see. So I was like, I'm gonna try a different thing, you know, before I like lock in.
Right.
I
We don't want to
wanna be
lock
a
it. Right.
dentist, right?
Lock in.
And-
This hygiene.
Yeah. Me and my brother, we play like 2K all the time.
Right.
And so like within 2K, there's like the announcers like to the show or like as you're playing. And I was like, wait, what if I was like, I want to do that. I want to be the voice within the video game. And I was like, wait, but what if I'm like actually commentating on an actual game? So yeah, I was like, wow, I want to do that. So
Okay. That's where it sparks from.
yeah, that's where
Super sick. Okay. And then your faith. You are a member of
I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a mouthful, but
mouthful.
I like to say the whole thing.
Right. Right. We got to get the whole title. We got to be accurate as possible. And your whole family too, right? That your whole family is
Yep.
the faith.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, okay. So I come from a 6-person household.
6-person household.
Mom, dad, and then you got 4 kids. You got my older brother Isaiah.
Mhm.
He's 21.
21.
He also does track at the University of Utah or Utah Valley University.
Gotcha.
Excuse me.
Did he leave home? Locked
No,
in?
he decided to stay home.
Yep.
You know, I was bored of. In a sense, I was bored of Utah. So
Yeah.
I decided
Don't need to hate on Utah, but you know.
No, I ain't
there's
hating on
exploring.
Utah. I ain't hating on Utah.
Right,
Just
right.
18 years in one place
Right.
is a long time.
Totally.
So I'd, you know, my mom said spread his wings, but I just wanted to move.
Right.
So yeah, there's my older brother. I have 2 younger sisters. One of them is a junior in high school. She's 16. And then my littlest sister just started preschool. She's 4.
4 years
So-
old.
That's a 15-year age gap between me and my
Pretty
youngest
big.
sister. She was
Yeah.
came up out of nowhere. It's crazy. We love
Yeah.
her though. Her name's Ascendant.
Ascendant. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like my family dynamic.
Yep. And then your dad. You mentioned to me before you had a very special relationship with your dad, at least out of all your British siblings. So can you explain a little bit that, like the impact that your dad had on you growing up?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like within my family, everybody, you have like the mama's boy, you have daddy's girl.
Right.
I'm just like, I mean, daddy's son. I don't know. That's not really a phrase. That's not a saying.
Not there, but
my older brother really connects well with my mom, and so does my sister. So I connect with my dad really well. It's just we click.
Right.
Our personalities are really similar.
Just how it
Interests
is.
are really similar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He's just always been like, he's been like a friend. It's like weird to say, but I see him like as a friend. Like I've went out and hung out with my friends and had him been there with me. If that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
So our relationship is really interesting, actually. But it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just different. And having a friendship growing up is even cooler too. Like, yeah, it's like our parents, they're one of us, sometimes we can look up to them, but then also like being able to have that friendship and being able to have someone that you can just hang out with, especially in your family that's, is always going to be there. It's even better.
It makes like the lectures talks a lot easier too. Because you're like, sometimes I'm like, oh, if I just see him as a friend and he's like, yo, I'm noticing this about you. Like, you want to talk about it or something like that.
Right.
And,
like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the connections is just like far more than just like a father-son bond, in my opinion. And I'm just really grateful for that. So he's a big part of my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned that he's a producer and director.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
He is.
And you grew up, around him filming, all these things, and especially even his first feature film.
Oh yeah.
You were asked to be on set, is that correct?
I was on set. My name is in the credits
Insane.
of the movie.
Insane.
First assistant.
Elias is actually a movie star. Sorry, we should introduce him like that. He is a movie star. Go check him out. What's the name of the film?
Grandpa's Crazy.
Okay, go check it out. He is a movie star.
Grandpa's Crazy. But yeah, it was actually like, you wouldn't think that like your dad's occupation plays like a big part like in your life.
Right.
But it changed the environment of our house. Quite literally, because his basement is like a studio. Like we turned his basement
in the house.
Yeah. We turned a room in the basement into a studio. I helped them build a sound booth over this summer or last summer. Yeah, it was last summer. We built like a sound booth. Yeah. And it was like the dimensions were perfect. I don't know if it's coming out of the basement. Like, literally, there's like an inch between the ceiling and the top of the sound booth.
Literally that accurate.
Yeah. No, we measured everything. Like it took the whole summer, obviously. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so he'd always help me. I mean, I helped him work on building sound booth. I helped him like record auditions. I do auditions myself. That he would find for me. I would edit some of his videos for him, some of his footage and whatnot. So I was always just like kind of fed into that kind of job, that type of industry, which I feel like definitely directly correlates to what I want to do. Always being surrounded by cameras. I'm like, I'm going to take one of my passions, sports, and I'm going to take this other passion that was taught to me, like media and film. I'm just kind of like mix it together, and out of the oven comes sports broadcast. That's what I want to do. So
we are cooking, and that's the oven. So that's the journey of Elias's career path. If anyone wanted to know, if he becomes famous for real, like reference back this podcast.
The origins.
That's the recipe. Okay, speaking of passions, especially like being a kid, like what is to you and your experience? What is the most important part of having passions even to begin with?
I would say making it personal, for sure. An example is actually like with my motorcycle. Quite literally everybody that I knew told me not to get a motorcycle. They're all like, don't get a motorcycle. You're going to end up, and everybody has one. The friend that I know that died like 3 years ago in a motorcycle accident, because for some reason, literally everybody I know
has a friend.
Everybody has a friend. Beyond finding your passions, I feel like, especially with like my birthday being recently and like being more mature individual with that works, but
right.
I think that especially with college, this time of your life is important for everybody, whether or not you go to college. In defining oneself, most of the time, when, you know, people turn 18, they're either taking steps out to like go live on their own, you know, go do something with their life. They're just kind of like, you know, their free trial of life is over.
Speaking about passions and all these things that are defining who you are, obviously, you know, where you come from, who you come from is a big part of it. And so, yeah, I know you mentioned your dad, I know you mentioned your family, but when we talked, your grandpa was a really big role in, you know, impacting your sports life, but also you as a character. So can you expand, like, how was your grandpa a big role in your life growing up?
No, for sure. I would say that I came from a very family-centered household. Like everybody, and what I mean by that, I guess, is that it was beyond just like who I lived with, who was under this roof, but everybody beyond that roof. Like we're extended family. Our extended family was like super close.
Right.
Like family reunions, like almost every year.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, they'd get togethers.
Everybody
And
knows everyone.
yeah,
like,
I have a big family too. I want to say I have, it's definitely 20 plus cousins.
Insane.
But
Insane. Like first cousins?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's definitely 20
You know how
plus.
many
I don't
I
know
have?
the exact number off the top of my head. How many?
Yes.
Don't you have more? Do you have more? Oh,
Two.
you don't have.
No, I don't. So anyways,
Yeah.
love the big family.
Yeah, definitely a big family. And so a big person in a part of that big family was my grandpa, because he was at every, you know, every gathering, because everybody was related to the grandpa. You know,
Obviously.
right? And so I would say this kind of applies to almost all my cousins. They can verify me on this.
Check, let us know.
But I think that he was really impactful for me because I think he was one of the direct people in my life that really taught me about work ethic. One of the things that he, you know, I know him for, and a big characteristic about him is he's a big lover of sports. Just like me, you know, he's played almost every sport, you know, when he was younger, and he just had a strong passion for it. And with that, yeah, you know, comes a lot of competitiveness. He's a very competitive kind of guy. Like literally, I think for my grandma's birthday, we had, you know, the big family get together. I wasn't able to go, unfortunately, because I was, you know, here training. But with the big family get together, he themed it as a decathlon. And so everybody would show up, you know, for like my grandma's birthday. Isn't that crazy?
That's so
And
fun.
so they all competed in like
Imagine
different
having
like
a birthday
mini
themed
events.
party.
Isn't that wild?
After the decathlon, like that's insane. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
so he's like, obviously, you know, that's all you need to know like he's like in sports and stuff like that,
Right.
right? But like when I was younger and when I was a kid, we would always do these competitions. He was always finding a way to like make something a game, and we're always playing like these random mini games that he like, you know, brought up, and he would always congratulate the winners, right? So everybody's like, oh, I want, you know, appraisal from grandpa, which sounds a little weird, but like it was very motivating as a little kid, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, I want a high five from grandpa.
Right.
You know? And even beyond like sports, there's a place that we had a lot of the get-togethers was this cabin in Boise National Forest. That's around where that he lives. And like I said, like we would all have family get-togethers there. And every year, every season, there was always work to be done at the cabin. We were either clearing brush, chopping down like dead trees, painting like some of the cabins. Like there was so much to do.
Just straight up
anything
and everything.
Every year. And so as there was work to do every year, all the cousins or most of the cousins I could would come up and, you know, work there. We'd have a work camp that was like maybe a week long. And I could almost confidently say that those work camps were some of the happiest times of my life. Like genuinely. I don't know how to explain it, but they were.
Yeah.
And almost all of my cousins, my brother, and my other cousins can probably confirm that was some of the best times of their life. And we're just like in a forest, like painting a cabin or like we're chopping down trees. It's like hot outside or something like that.
Right.
But it was so fun. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Literally. I asked him this year, I was like, what work is there to be done? There's like the quote from a person. I don't know their name.
A person.
They're like, it's not about
That
the
one guy.
end destination. It's about the journey. Somebody says it. It's always in like 6 rom-coms at least.
obviously.
Like it's just
Hallmark
People say-
movies, Christmas coming up. You will
Mhm.
see in all the Christmas movies.
And one thing that I've learned about sayings and phrases
Mhm.
is that even if they're repetitive, there's a reason why people started saying it in the first place.
Dang.
Because it's true.
Yep,
Right?
it's true.
You know? And so even though, you hear it a lot, there's definite meaning behind that. And each time somebody says that, it kind of comes with like a little nugget of their own personal experience. Like they're saying that for a reason. They have a reason
Right.
behind the saying. And I think a lot of people that have, little idioms that they say, there's always reasons behind it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so moving on. Growing up, your grandpa loved sports and all your cousins and family members played sports and everything. And I know you personally played taekwondo, basketball, track, and so you had a lot of experience with different things. But especially, it was a tiebreaker between basketball and track in high school.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us? Can you tell us that story? Break it down for us.
All right. So I would say that basketball was my first love. Always was.
First love.
I first started playing basketball when I was in kindergarten. I think was the first time I actually started playing basketball. First time I played in the league was like first grade, right? And it just came naturally. I'm tall.
Oh, I'm seeing.
It's freaking long.
Right. Makes sense.
I was really built for basketball. I'll get to it, but I'm doing track right now. So
Plot twist, and you end the book. He's not.
yes, I'm not doing basketball anymore, but I still play. So I started out playing basketball, every winter, right? Basketball season, it's basketball season. I started track, when my neighbor, he actually owned a track club, like a local track club.
Oh, just
Yeah, just like USATF. I mean, like, somebody's got a casualty on a track club, right? I mean,
so it happened to be your neighbor.
It just happened to be my neighbor.
Knocked on him, was trying to give him cookies, brownies, housewarming gifts. He's like, "Do you want to come run on my track that I own?"
Yeah, my parents were actually really good friends with him. The guy that owned the club, his name was Kenneth Moore. So, I mean, I might have to throw that name out there because, he plays a big part of where I am today. If I didn't tell Kenneth Moore, hey, I want to do a track, I probably wouldn't be wearing this hoodie. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair.
No.
I mean, so I gotta throw out props to him.
Yeah, I couldn't remember where you came from.
Right? So he's like, hey, do you want to put your kids in track? Because
Right.
he was friends with my parents. And they're like, oh, sure. Because why not? Right?
That'd be a weird offer to deny.
Yeah. And even then it was like, we always love sports too.
Right.
It's part of my family. So they're like, let's do sports.
Yeah.
Let's do track.
Yeah.
So I started doing track. The events I first did, this was like when I was in third grade, fourth grade.
Mm-hmm.
Events that I did were long jump, the hurdles, and like the 200. And long jump was actually my favorite. I didn't start doing what I do. I high jump. I'm a high jumper. As you can see. I didn't start high jumping until like my freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, dang, how long ago? Is that like 6 years now? Because I'm a sophomore now. Oof. That can't be right. It must be right.
Math is mathy.
Right. So I started doing track, and it would always follow basketball season, right? Because you got like basketball in the winter and then track in the spring. And so it also just kept us occupied. We weren't, going around doing
Staying out of trouble, like things to do.
Our mom was always looking for reasons to keep her kids out of the brush because I lived like right next to this, giant area where it's underdeveloped, right? So it's just like the wilderness was just out there. so I could really just go out there, and I did with my friends for fun, and she didn't like that obviously because who knows what we're doing out there.
Motorcycle, wilderness, all things mom. Same category of things mom don't like.
Moms don't like that. Moms don't.
Reasonably so. No hate. Moms, we love you. For sure.
My mom's been paranoid since day one. I'm always doing something crazy. Literally.
Right.
I'm always doing something crazy. But yeah, so that's how I started track. And then I continued playing basketball alongside track,
Right.
Basketball, track. And I was more passionate about basketball at the time than I was track, obviously, right? Because I started it earlier. I played 2K. I had the jerseys. I had a LeBron jersey. It was my first ever jersey. It was a Miami Heat LeBron jersey. And I played basketball all the way up until like my freshman year. And my freshman year, um, I had a new coach, right? And under this coach, he was not a good coach. There's a lot of coaches out there. He was not one of the good ones.
He was not one of the good ones.
And you know,
Coaching
that's just the
experiences.
cards I was dealt. And
Right.
I was after that 1 year, I was like, that was like kind of terrible. Like I didn't have as much fun as I
As
do
you
my
thought.
other years. Like, what the heck, man?
What was that?
Right? And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take like a year off because if this is what, since I was in ninth grade, I was
Right.
like, if this is what high school basketball is like, I don't know if I want a part of this because like he really made it suck. I'm like
Right.
5 a.m. practices and you're in like a freshman. That's crazy.
Nope, we're good.
Right? I'm like, I'm
You're
not
good.
doing that. Like it was 2-hour, 3-hour practices right before school even started. And I'm like,
Oh,
yeah.
perfect.
I was like, you know, it was terrible. I had to take 2 showers because I had to have one after practice, one after weights. And it was just, it made life like, this was like, wow, I'm
Right.
so sleep deprived. So I was like, I'm gonna take a break from basketball for 1 year. My sophomore year, I'm like, man, I'm just taking a break. I'm not taking a break from the sport. I'm taking a break from high school basketball. So
Right, right.
I went and played club, right? And apparently a thing within the system was that the freshman coach always recommends like specific players. He pretty
Right.
much gives like the next year.
Gives a
the
list of
roster.
people. Right. The locker
Pretty much
roster.
just gives them the straight up roster,
Gotcha.
right? I was on said roster, you know, will be. I didn't really want to
Very
play.
enthusiastic about that.
Because I mean, he was like, "Oh yeah, he's a decent player, so you know, send him to the next year's team."
Right, but you were fed up as it is.
And I was like, I don't really want to do it. So like, when they get the roster and they're like, "Okay, these are who we look for at tryouts," and I'm not at tryouts,
You were not the happiest.
they're like, "Wait a minute," because they plan everything well ahead. They call it tryouts. That's not a tryout. That's like practice. They already know the
We
team.
know where you're
who's on
going.
the
Like,
team.
stop lying to us.
Right? So they're like, oh crap, you know, and they probably got a little frustrated, you know, I had to fill in gaps, right? Because I'm not there.
Right.
So I focus on track, you know, have a great time doing track, you know, enjoying the sport, still playing basketball on the side club, enjoying that, you know, I'm
Right.
like, oh, this is nice, back to where it was.
Exactly.
And then junior year, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna go for it now, you know, because like I had a year off, I'm ready to come back, and so I show up to tryouts, and everybody at school's like, oh, Elias, you're trying out this year. I was like, yeah, you know. And I'm like, oh, sweet, you know. And like, let's go.
Everyone's super
Everything.
pumped.
Everybody's like, yeah. Right. So I go to tryouts, you know, try out, do my thing. They know who I am. All right.
Right.
And then the coach was like, okay, it was like first day of cuts. And then like he brings me into like the office, right? He's like, okay, Elias, you know, you're a really talented athlete. And you know, when he starts with that, they just gonna be like, you didn't make the cut. And I was like, are
We
you
love her butt.
serious? Right?
We love her butt.
I was like, are you serious right now? Are you kidding? He's like, and you're not gonna believe like why I didn't make a team. He's like, because you didn't play last year,
right.
you're gonna
Most
be like,
valid reason.
you're gonna be a year behind. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay. You know, I didn't really fight it because I was like, I mean, I could go back and play on the club team that I'm having way more fun on, right? You know, it's like, didn't really mean much to me. I had played with these guys for like the past like 4 years.
Chemistry is there. Reasoning is not. No idea why you missed it.
Exactly. The plays are practically the same from high school to the next level, or not
Right.
high school, but like from freshman year to like sophomore. Like they use the same playbooks pretty much.
Right.
It would probably take me maybe a week, 2 weeks to kind of get into the swing of things, but you know,
Anyway,
I don't think
it was
they-
dumb.
Yeah.
So junior year turned out to be track only.
Track only again.
Okay. And what happened that season? You bought out, or
I had a breakout year. That's what I like to call it. I feel like a lot of athletes have a breakout year where they just go from like, you know, level
Going
1
to
to level
game
10.
to
Just boom, right?
Right.
And it happened with high jump, which I mean,
was not even your initial event.
I wasn't even thinking about it. Yeah, it wasn't even my initial event. My sophomore year was COVID. So my season got cut short.
Right.
So I didn't even know
Your full
like,
potential.
yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, bummer, right?
To messing around like, oh, okay, I guess.
So, and then my junior year, that's when all that stuff happened. And I was like, holy crap. You know, I ended up jumping 7 feet in high jump. So that put me
On junior
in
year.
my junior year.
Dang.
So that
7
was
foot.
the number seventh in the U.S. at the time,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was pretty good for a junior. I was like, oh crap! Like, and the only people that were above me, were seniors. So I was like, okay, so on top of my class, let's go. You know, I was like, let's go, right? And so I won state in the high jump, won state in the long jump. Got like,
What do you mean you thought you were good? Were you good?
I mean, like, whenever I talk about like myself and when I do, I always compare it to myself or to people like
Got it.
of
Yeah.
my caliber, right? So
Really
I
good
was like,
mindset to have.
when you say like, what do you mean you thought you were good? I was like, well, I was thinking there's like 6 guys better than me, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, being good, like if I was put in a competition
Right.
with these 7 guys, I'd get last place.
Right.
Is that good? No.
No.
That's my thought process when like you tell me
Which is a winner's mindset. Like, you
Right.
gotta have that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I junior year balled out, won state, broke the state record actually. And I gotta say, at the state meet was when I broke the state record. I had a state record. I jumped 2 meets before. It was at the BYU Invitational,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the regional meet, and then there was the state meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the BYU Invitational, had a great day. I broke the state record. I was like, holy crap. Like, oh my gosh, you know, this is so cool.
Right.
Literally 2 days later at some dude's region meet, 2 days later, someone breaks my state record. I'm like, what the heck?
What is going on?
I was like, dude, I had been number 1 in the state the entire season. I'm like, who is this guy?
What do you mean?
This dude, literally, the top mark beyond me was like 6'8", maybe. And I jumped 6'10" and a half. I don't even think it was 6'8". It was probably like 6'7". And I'm like, who is this guy?
Right.
This guy came out of nowhere, broke my state record. I didn't even have it for more than 24 hours. He broke it literally like
Imagine that.
It was,
Not
like, it
even
was under
24
48 hours. And it was so funny too, because like I'm in my room, like I'm watching my sister, and my brother comes in to the room with his phone. He's like, bro, someone broke your state record. I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've heard all day.
Good joke.
I'm like, that
That's
doesn't
right.
happen. I'm like, dude, who is doing that?
Right.
Nobody, because I'm number 1 in the state the entire time. I'm like,
Right.
who's doing that? Like, please. I was joking. I was like, please tell me. He's like, this guy named Connor Saunders from Syracuse jumped 6'10" and a half. Mind you, my state record was 6'10" and a quarter. He beat me by 1/4 of an inch.
That's insane.
I'm like, nah, you're lying. He's like, nah, look. And he like shows me the live results and everything. And I'm like,
Frustrated.
yes. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, who does this guy think he is? He can come in like last second. Oh my gosh, you did not want to talk to me like for the next week. Because the week before state, I was not having it with nobody. I was like the one accolade that I have to my name in track and field gets taken from me by somebody I don't even know.
Very upsetting time. Everybody.
Less than
let's
2
just
days
summarize
after it
there.
happened, I was like, no.
Okay, so moving forward though, after the very valley that was of your life, what was the next part of that?
Yeah, so I ended up breaking the state record, reclaiming my title.
Reclaiming the title.
And then at the end of the year, at the awards banquet, that most, high schools have, the athletic awards banquet, you won't believe who shows up afterwards. I end up getting 3 or 4 awards.
Awards, right.
Getting
Yep.
a decent amount of awards. And
Rightfully so.
the basketball coach walks up with his little posse of players behind him, right? And he comes over and he does this little kind of approach, right?
Right. So where is this going? Let me know.
And I know who he is. He knows who I am. And so I'm like, let's just cut to the chase. Like, what are you doing?
Don't play games.
And he's like, so I was talking with the guys, which are my friends, by the way. All of them are my friends. And they're like, and they were thinking that after your amazing performance in, track and field, and, they'd been telling me about how athletic you were, things like that. I wanted to formally extend you a spot on the basketball team so you could play for us, next year, right? Senior year, right? He's like, and then you can go out there, go and like do your dunks and everything in front of like the crowds and stuff like that. Like he's trying to sell this to me. I'm like,
Really
he's selling this.
Like he is selling it.
The whole basketball team behind him and everything. Like he definitely put some thought into it. I was like, okay. And I'm like, wow, thanks coach. I really appreciate it. No.
So that's kind of the origin story of really how track was chosen over basketball. What do you say?
And then that day when the coach talked to me, when track became like a big part of my life. After that, I was all in track now. Yeah. I was like fully into track. Right. Still play basketball on the side because I won't let anybody kill my passion for basketball.
Right, you can't.
It's
your passion.
Right? I know. Yours. I love it. Basketball is still my first love. That's not gonna change.
It's not gonna change.
Not gonna change. Right.
Would you say that you do miss, or regret not pursuing the basketball path?
I love basketball. Super evident. I don't regret the decision I made, picking track over basketball, but I do wish that I could have seen how far basketball could have taken me.
Right.
For sure.
So no regrets is what you're saying.
No regrets. I'm happy. I mean, I'm super happy. I feel really blessed with where I'm at. I feel like this was the path that was for me, but sometimes I sit up and I wonder, well, how far could I have actually gone if I picked basketball?
It's the curiosity that happens. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, switching gears. So your faith, obviously a big part of your life. I asked you, to be on this podcast to explore a little bit more about that. So if you were to give us, as hard as it may be, or as easy, I don't know, a little Cliff Note version, 2 minutes, explain it, your faith. You are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Got him. Good. And kind of what it means to you. Give us little Cliff Notes.
No, for sure. So, like you said, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A lot of other people recognize us as Mormons. That's another term.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I grew up in the church my whole life. And I will say that it has had an amazing impact on my life because it surrounded me with people that have values and beliefs that align with mine and taught me a lot of morals and lessons that I carry with me to this day, for sure. And within the space of track and field, I still, carry my beliefs with me onto the track, whenever I go and compete. I always say a prayer, actually, like right before, I compete, and one time after, I'll go off to the side. There'll always be like little circle prayers, that, the athletes will put together. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Yeah, I think so.
They'll like circle up and like, does anybody want to have a prayer? I normally go to those if there's one, but if there isn't, I'll go off into a corner before a big competition and I'll offer up a little prayer right before, kind of like for me and for my, my opponents. I try to kind of, wear my religion on my sleeve and let people know, and this is what I believe in, because I feel like, how much of it do you actually believe if you aren't willing to, kind of like put it out there? Like I want to do it because I feel like it shows, I like to show my faith.
Right.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm not, ashamed of it. And so I think that I'm really happy to kind of like be like a representative of it.
Yeah, and acknowledge it. I mean, there's something important to, like you said, like if you believe something, you have to show it. Do you even believe it at that point if you don't? And like, or not even believe it, but it's like, we gotta live out. Like if we say and believe what we say is like true or whatever, how are people going to know that we actually believe that? How are people going to know that that's actually true?
Mm-hmm.
They're not. These actions always speak louder than words. Like literally, the saying's the saying for a reason. The sayings from the beginning.
All right.
So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then also part of your faith, a big big part of it is at the, from my understanding, when you're young men, you're asked to go onto a mission trip, which is a 2-year mission trip. You're sent anywhere. And so can you explain, a little bit your story about that experience with the trip?
Yeah,
Where you're at?
Absolutely. I'll do like a little kind of like brief, like 101 of my church and like kind of like how it works, right? So, we're a Christian denomination. Jesus Christ. We believe, in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Those three. So yeah, we're very similar to Christians, I would say. There's a few things that we have that we believe in, that we're also known for really well that are maybe a little bit different. Like, for example, the Book of Mormon. Why people call us Mormons? Because we believe in this, book of scripture, which is another testament of Jesus Christ, as well, alongside some other, scriptures, that we have, like the Doctrine and Covenants, as well. So, and within our church, the leadership is, we have a prophet, that, leads the church, guides and directs, and kind of like, we believe that he's like, the direct mouthpiece, as a normal prophet is, right?
He guides, tells you what to do.
Right. Exactly. And
direction.
One of the things that our church is known for that has been, talked about as of recently within like the last like 3 or 4 years is, going on a mission. It's been talked about a lot more, as time has gone on. And, our current prophet, Elder Nelson, President Nelson, said that, every able young man should go and serve a mission, which, as you said, is like a 2-year trip to wherever you were called. So like wherever you were needed is pretty much like where you're called. And obviously there's like some inspiration, thought, and prayer put into like where you just, send somebody. And most people go the time frame, the window. Yeah. Which also should add that, a lot of young women also go on missions as well. My family, I've had like 3 or 4 young women go on missions. The young men go when they're 18. That's the youngest that they can go at. So a lot of my friends at home, as of right now, actually, are out on their missions. Some of the guys on the basketball team were out on their missions, things like that. And so you can imagine me, graduating high school, and I'm like, okay, do I go on a mission? Right? Because at the time I had offers from all these schools, and I'm like, it was hard for me to choose. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to go on a mission and then serve for 2 years, which I've always wanted to do. I always had the desire to go and serve. So it was never a thought of whether or not I wanted to, because I still do to this day. It was always thought of, is it what I'm supposed to do? Because sometimes I sit back and think, I'm like, did God give me this gift for a reason? Is that reason for me to go and almost share the gospel in a different way? Yeah. Or is it, or do I listen to what the prophet says and kind of go and serve, as instructed? And so I kind of came to the conclusion out of high school that I was going to go to college for 2 years, go serve a mission, and then go back and complete my final 2 years of college. And so now we're on year 2. At the end of this year, I've told people I'm going to go on a mission. But if you ask me directly, I still actually don't even know. Because I want to go, but I don't know if it's the thing for me. I've always felt that this decision has been bigger than me this whole time. 19-year-old, now 20-year-old Elias is way smaller than this decision, because with it being 2024, that's the Olympic year. Right. I have a chance of going to the Olympics. And I don't want to go when I'm not supposed to. But at the same time, I also don't want to go on a mission when God's like, dude, I gave you this gift. So that you could go represent, Jesus Christ and like what you believe in at a world stage. And you pass that up, and I don't I feel torn, and this whole thought has been sitting in my mind for the last 2 years.
Well, I can imagine.
I've been thinking about it for 2 years. I still can't draw up a conclusion.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one thing that I feel, I'm going to decide soon. I'm getting guidance from some of my friends here at the Institute, Elder Lee, Elder Probst, Elder Harmon, Elder Brown.
Shout out.
All my, had to.
Had to.
They actually do play a really big part, though.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by them, actually, because they're doing what I see myself doing, what I want to do. Is that they're out here and they're, assigned to serve in the Los Angeles area. They're serving to the people here. You might actually see them around campus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think highly of them. I think it's hard to uproot yourself for 2 years and go, who knows where. They speak Chinese. The ones here.
Impressive.
They had to learn Chinese, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, like if you're in Utah, just happen to learn Chinese, right? And you're like, And so when you open that letter and it's like you've been called to labor in the Los Angeles area speaking Chinese, you're like, oh shoot, I gotta learn Chinese.
Casually gotta pick that up.
That's crazy. The same thing could happen with me. I could get called to, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, speaking like Portuguese.
Yeah.
I don't know Portuguese, or I could get called to, Seoul, Japan, speak Japanese.
Intense.
I don't know Japanese. I'm like halfway across the globe, right?
Right.
And there's just like two really big factors kind of like fighting each other. Olympics mission, and I have a strong passion and desire to do both.
Right.
But it feels like in my life, is that even a possibility? For me to do both. And I feel like I almost feel pressured. I'm kind of venting here. But most people go like directly out of high school.
Yeah.
So like, for example, when I was in high school and they're like, oh, actually you're going to go on a mission,
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm actually going to go to college for, 2 years and then I'm going to come back. And some people were like, oh, really? Like, why don't you go like everybody else just right after high school? It's a lot easier,
Right.
And some people were like, yeah, you're not really true to your faith. You're not, that desirous to go if you're not going like right away. And I'm like, come on, man. I do want to go like really bad.
Right. How much more to that decision to you, to your thought process than just the surface.
No, for sure.
And I feel like that's a really big thing. Have you learned anything about that? About, staying true to yourself and your beliefs when there's so much noise around you? Impacting your decision. Yeah.
For sure. One thing that I'll say that's different about Utah and Los Angeles is like the population, the church population within Utah, vastly bigger, obviously, right? I mean, that's what Utah is almost known for. Yeah. Is people that share the same faith as I do. And so a lot of my friends have the same faith as I do. And so being surrounded by that, there's just like a total support for it. It's really easy to go to church when everybody is going to church with you, right? Yeah. Move to Los Angeles. This place is awesome. It's a melting pot of cultures and people, everyone, languages, and religions. And even on campus, there's like so many people with different faiths and beliefs and things like that. But there's a very, very small like church presence in Los Angeles, at least at USC. Mm-hmm. It's actually like, it shocked me when I got here. So
what do you think is what you've learned from that, from coming from such a spot with so much support and everything, and going to a place with, not nearly as much as people or support?
Your faith should be personal. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you believe in something, there's a reason that they say you believe in it. Mm-hmm. My mom may believe in it, but just because my parents, have this faith and they practice this religion doesn't mean that, that's what I'm going to do, right? Right. Because you come here and my parents aren't waking me up, hey, go to church. Right. My friends are like, yo, let's go to the church activity, right? It's almost literally just me. There's like 12 people, right? Yeah. You gotta put in an effort. Yeah. to have that faith. You got to foster that, belief that you have.
It's going back to you saying like self-motivating. You gotta, decide on yourself. Like you gotta identify who you are and decide. Like you have to wake up in the morning, especially coming to college and being like, okay, who do I want to be? Who am I trying to become? And through those questions that you have to face, if you do not have an option to face, you eventually see, okay, this is what I believe. This is how I'm going to live, and etc.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Kind of like what I said with me, like wearing my beliefs on my sleeve earlier.
Right.
I definitely started doing that here because at home I didn't really take pride in being a member of my church.
Right.
Because everybody did it back home. There's nothing really like cool about it. But I come here and I realized there was something cool about it this whole time. It is so awesome to be a part of my faith and, to believe what I believe. It just took that move for me to realize it. I would not have discovered that back home. But people ask me now, they'll say literally the other day, they're like, are you Mormon? I was like, yes, I am.
I am.
And I was so happy to, kind of say that. And
yeah.
I don't think I would have discovered that unless I came here.
Yeah.
And that just kind of goes back to, me having that desire to kind of like put myself out there and say that, I believe in this. It almost has like a deeper value. I'm very proud of what I believe in. I hope to be a good representative of my church. And that's who I kind of like, I aspire to be, a good representative of my church.
Right. It's really figuring out who you are. Okay. So wrapping it up, Elias, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate you coming out. And one last thing for our viewers that are watching online, Elias, one of his passions, not only does he actually skateboard, he also has what some may know as tech deck, what you call...
We call them fingerboards.
Fingerboards. So let's check it out. We're going to see live action, actually. See if you can do a trick.
We're going to see.
One and only shot. Here you go.
It's
let's
broken.
see it.
I only have one set of trucks.
You did break it on the way over here, so let's see it.
We're going to definitely try. This was my COVID hobby, by the way. Still living, I don't know how many people can say they have current standing COVID hobbies. All right, here we go.
All right, let's see. One and only shot.
All right, one shot. Oh gosh, pressure's on.
Pressure is on. Ready?
I mean,
what is this move called? Sorry.
I'm gonna just try. Let's try a varial kickflip. So basically, to demonstrate, the board's gonna rotate 180 degrees. And then do a full rotation. So it's going to do a full rotation and then turn that way. Okay. But it's all in one motion. So
one motion. Varial kickflip. Elias.
All right, here we go.
Let's see it.
Dang it. Okay. Give me like a countdown.
High number at USC. Have a clap.
All right,
ready?
Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, I almost stuck it. Let's try one more time.
One more time.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Third time's the charm. Take your time. Oh, okay.
I need
now.
wheels.
The wheels are the problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you join us for the next episode on Lord Beyond the Game. See you guys next time.